Welcome to Marketing Monday. I'm Paula Williams with ABCI, and today's question is from David. So thank you for joining us first of all for Marketing Monday, and if you're there, do give us a thumbs up. Let us know you're in the room, and you can always type in comments either during or after this broadcast. So we take one question from a listener or from a reader or from one of our Facebook folks or YouTube folks or anything else each week about sales or marketing in the aviation industry. So this week's question is from David, and David says, I just read in Fortune magazine that the new Apple iPhone will have a price tag of $1,200. Of course this is just a rumor, but seriously, how can Apple make people shell out so much money for a cell phone and often get people to actually line up for the privilege of doing this in this economy? And more importantly, how can I make people line up like that to buy jet cards? Okay, David, I totally understand your frustration. Everybody complains about the price of Apple products, but you know what? They keep buying them. Every time Apple comes out with a new product, people end up buying it no matter how much it costs. It's the craziest thing that I've ever seen. So actually it's not that crazy, and I'll tell you why. There are three things that Apple has in their favor that most of the rest of us have to work on to get that good at. And those three things are authority, credibility, and expertise. So we're going to talk about how Apple does it, and then we're going to talk about how you, David, can do this with your jet cards that you're selling. So first of all, authority. You want to position your product as a solution, not as a product, right? So they're not really selling a cell phone. They are selling the ability to work from anywhere. They're selling the battery life, the security, the other kinds of things, the benefits, saying, you know, you can be off the grid for X number of days and still your cell phone's going to work. It's going to be reliable. It's going to do what you want it to do. So they know their customers and they speak from the authority of that knowledge, right? So, you know, Henry Ford used to say that if we asked customers what they wanted, they would just say they wanted a faster horse. Whereas Henry Ford was offering them an automobile, they didn't know what they wanted. So Apple has been telling customers what they want or what's even possible. I don't know if you remember some of the very first advertisements for the iPod. Back then it was called an iPod, and it was a music player. You know, there had always been MP3 players, or there had been MP3 players for a number of years, but they never really sold very well because only people who knew what an MP3 player was interested in that. So it's one of those things that just makes no sense to people until they positioned it as 10,000 songs in your pocket. You know, imagine that as opposed to having this, I don't know if you used to have a car in the, you know, before iPods became available, and you used to have those big visorfuls of CDs, or you used to have a CD changer in your trunk. You know, that's crazy compared to the technology that they had. People didn't know they wanted it until Apple told them, you know, what was possible. So that's thing number one is authority. Number two is credibility. So Apple gets mentioned in the news a lot. They didn't just up and start charging $1,200 for an iPhone out of the blue. They have a long reputation of selling very high-priced products, and they also have a very long reputation of being the leader in a certain type of technology. So, you know, if we look at all of the places that they've been mentioned in the last week, not only do we have Fortune magazine where David saw it, we also have CNBC, CNET, Mac Rumors, Fast Company, Mashable, Bloomberg, The Verge, Los Angeles Times, Business Insider, Wall Street Journal, ZDNet, all of the morning talk shows. Everybody's talking about Apple. Every time they come up with something, every time somebody uses something in a new way. I don't know if you remember last year, when they refused to unlock an iPhone for the FBI, you know, that really positioned them in a way that positioned them as not only the technology experts, but also as the security experts and people who have their customers back. So they found ways and exploited opportunities, quite frankly, to get and stay in the news on a consistent and regular basis. So that's thing number 2 is credibility. Being in the news all the time will give you that kind of credibility. Being in the news all the time for good reasons will give you that credibility. Thing number 3 is expertise. So Apple has dominated the high cost position in that technology field for years. That's a very key distinction, right? They are not trying to be everything for everybody. They want only the top of the market, and they are willing to spend the kind of money on R&D and marketing that will only the top of the market can and would do. So, once again, they're not selling you the iPhone, they're selling you what you can do with the iPhone, and everything that they do, from the positioning of the product as being, always they have the most expensive product in just about every technology category, to the packaging, to the drama of their product releases. All of that stuff really feeds into that consistent image of the top of the line product, right? Okay, so authority, credibility, and expertise. How can you, David, build your authority, credibility, and expertise so that it's easier for you to sell those jet cards and get people lining up for them? Let's talk about that. So authority, you want to position the solution, not the product. So you're selling jet cards, but nobody really wants that jet card unless, you position it as something that's kind of a cachet. You pull that out of your wallet, or maybe you show an image of that in someone's wallet as a status symbol. So next time you're at the country club, you flip through, people will see your jet card. Seriously, this is a thing that people do. Number 2 is you want to tell your customers what's possible with that jet card. So, you can be more effective in your business by being at a client site at 10 a.m. and then being home in time for dinner, or being at 3 different sales meetings during the week. That would be impossible using the airlines. Just think of how much more money you could make if you were able to do this, Mr. Jet Card customer. So you want to think about, positioning the solution rather than the benefits. Okay, so that's authority. Credibility, you want to publish press releases. Now in aviation, you want to get published in some different places than Apple's getting published. These are some of the places that ABCI has been published. We actually have this graphic on our website. And we do this for a very specific reason. We want people to know that we weren't born yesterday, right? And that a lot of folks in the industry are talking about us or have talked about us at some point in the past. So, on here we've got AIN, General Aviation News, Flying Magazine, and BAA, Aviation eBrief, Aviation Week, and then we've got some general market publications like Digital Journal, Wall Street Select, Forbes, Aviation Pros is aviation for sure, ask.com, and other places. So when we publish press releases for ourselves, or for our clients, we want to make sure that we're getting in those target magazines. And of course, we can't guarantee any specific magazine, but every press release that we publish gets published in some of these. So credibility, you can do that for yourself. And you might say, well, what could I write about that's a press release that would work for jet cards, right? You can do customer success stories. You can do offers of what's available, after Hurricane Irma and Harvey. You can talk about things that your organization is doing, maybe in those areas to get people in and out, other kinds of things. Lots of different opportunities. A lot of the folks that you fly around are probably newsmakers. So you may want to say, this person is going to be in Houston giving a press conference, if you're flying a dignitary or somebody that wants the publicity. So once again, it has to be good for everyone in order to make that work. So there's always opportunities, and with each of our customers, we do a monthly meeting where we brainstorm. Here are some of the topics that we could be writing about to build your credibility, make sure you get mentioned in the news and get those things done. Expertise. You want to dominate the high cost position, right? You don't want to be the cheap option unless that is, a different decision that you want to make. You want to pick a pricing strategy and stick with it. Apple has picked the high end of the market, and they are consistent with every element of what they do. The quality, the service, the packaging, everything that goes into it has to be top of the line if you're going for the top of the market. If you're going for the budget end of the market, you want to focus on being friendly and accessible and budget friendly as well. And then you can make some different decisions, but you need to be consistent with that so that you have the that positioning that you want. So authority, credibility, expertise. Apple does it, you can do it. It's not magic, it's just a lot of hard work. So that is the short answer. If you want a longer answer or a more specific answer, you can always ask us for a free consultation. On our website, there's a button that says Let's Talk. If you push that button, it will let you set up a time that's convenient. You can pick 30 minutes from our calendar. There's maybe slots available even this week where you can get in and get an appointment with John and myself, and we will talk to you about your specific business and how you might do any of these things better. Build your authority, credibility, expertise, talk about your pricing strategy, talk about your credibility strategy, talk about possibilities for getting you in the news, and so on. So thanks for joining us. If you have a question for us, we'd love to feature that in a future week. And of course, we will send you our social media guide for aviation professionals if we use your question on the air. So thanks for joining us, and see you next week.